Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines. I have Major Jeff Mitchell. He's a chaplain in the United States Army, and Lieutenant James Collins, also a chaplain. We're going to talk to them about why they became chaplains, what their duties and responsibilities are, and how they serve God, their fellow man, and country. So join us on the next Legal Lines. Welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show today Jeff Mitchell. He is a pastor at Chaplain on the campus here in Baton Rouge and also a major in the National Guard. Jeff,
hey, well,
thanks for having on the show again here.
Right.
We've done this before, but we're kind of coming at it a different perspective, and that is before you were explaining all your experiences in Afghanistan, and now we're going to talk today about the need of the National Guard for chaplains. Correct. And frankly, the whole military. Quickly just tell the folks how you got into the National Guard.
Well, you know, I kind of joke with folks that I'd been pastoring for 9 years and really was not looking for something else to do. But I had a neighbor that was a full-time guardsman, and he came across the street one day and said there was a need for a chaplain in his unit, and he said, would you be interested? And I've always seen my service to God as, Lord, here I am, send me. So I said, hey.
Loud call there, huh?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but have somebody give me a call. And as the wheels turn and the needs and the opportunity and all the skills that the set that I saw that was needed there, it was a great match. And as I looked further into it, my church and elders saw it was a great opportunity to minister in the military that would give our church some great opportunities. So over a year period of praying and talking with my family, it was
because it's tough on the family, isn't it?
It is. It's a challenge.
Let's explain to the folks who the National Guard is, because I'm not sure everybody really understands. It's basically civilians. It's you and I who aren't professional military folks, but have joined to, I guess, be the weekend warrior. Only
Right.
a lot of them are full-time. Over, 150 to 175,000 are full-time warriors right now.
Correct.
And so you decided after a year of contemplating it and getting more information. Where did you get the information? You said you talked to the church elders. Who did you talk to with the Guard to get
Well,
the
our
information?
state chaplain had almost 20 years of experience. He was able to explain the requirements and help me make the best decision for myself, the church, and for the National Guard.
So once you decided to join, I guess you have to apply and meet certain criteria.
Correct.
And go through different kinds of training, and then you're in the National Guard.
Correct.
And, of course, there are two status. One is non-deployed, and one is being deployed. And at first, you were a non-deployed chaplain in the National Guard.
Correct.
Explain the life of such a person to folks who are interested.
Well, it's a great opportunity once a month, one weekend a month, to go to a different atmosphere and with different people and have a weekend of going around and seeing soldiers and listening to them and opportunities to counsel. Plus, there's training that's happening in case we're deployed. It's always great training there.
So
on the
military
weekends.
training?
Correct, military training. We do the 2 weeks in the summer. So
Now, what's that about? That's, I guess, I call it boot camp. Maybe it's not quite as bad for chaplains. I don't know.
Well, it's annual
Bad
training. Well, it was, I tell you, 2 weeks in August at Fort Polk in the woods is
Plenty.
yeah. But I mean, the mental training, the specific, the special training towards, we were engineers, well equipped us when we were deployed to be well trained and mentally tough enough to step up to the plate, which we did.
Now, what type of issues, I mean, how many folks, are you assigned a single base, a single group of soldiers? How does that work?
Well, I, at the time, was a battalion chaplain, which is about 500 soldiers. Now I'm a brigade chaplain, which serves about 3,000 soldiers.
So you, in the beginning, were the chaplain for 500 soldiers.
Correct.
And now for the brigade, 3,000.
Correct.
Do you have chaplains underneath you?
Correct.
Okay. And in the non-deployed status, when you would go on that once a month and then the 2 weeks during the summer, what were the issues that you dealt with?
Well, you know,
the spiritual or ministering component of it.
well, you know, there a lot of folks on the weekends have their local pastor, but there are soldiers out there that know me and have a relationship with me, and a lot of times there's issues, whether it's dealing with domestic issues, their marriage, just something they're dealing with in their own personal lives. They'll say, "Hey, Chap, can we have a few minutes to talk?" And of course, the leadership is always, when I'm on site, gives the soldiers that freedom, no matter what training's going on, to have their needs met in a spiritual sense.
Great.
And I do offer worship service on that weekend. So, and of course, having units in a battalion, I would travel and try to hit, those 4 units on a weekend. So it's a full schedule, busy, but just a wonderful opportunity to go out and do that type ministry.
And so the family in that situation is just losing you, once a month and during the 2 weeks. But
Correct.
You were deployed for, almost over a year.
Correct.
In Afghanistan, and were down in the trenches. It's kind of the tip of the spear deal.
Sure.
And I assume it changes significantly then for the family, for you, for the soldiers. Let's talk about those issues. First of all, the family. How does it affect the family?
Well, that year that I took to pray through, talk through, get wise counsel as becoming a chaplain, my family was a part of that, and that was a family decision.
So in the beginning, before you decided, we made sure everybody was on board.
Right, and
knew that by everybody.
we knew that the possibility of deployment was high, and but still, my family felt that was something God was calling not only me professionally to do, but them along with me. And when we were moved towards deployment, it was good for my family. It was good for our relationship. It was good for a church family. And because I think you learn to appreciate what you have, and again, the church and my family felt it was a call of God on our lives, and it was sacrificial. But I think absence made the heart grow fonder in both those situations, and people stepped up to not only did I have to sacrifice, but my family and the church sacrificed, and had that sense of calling to support the cause of freedom.
Now, prior to being deployed, explain to the folks the effect of being in the Reserve National Army Guard has on your full-time job.
Well, it really did not have an impact, I think, as most people had. I mean, because the Guard realizes that I pastor and I want to serve those guardsmen also. They've given me the freedom to go to drill on Friday and Saturday and come home Saturday night. So on Sundays, I'm in my local church environment. And a lot of times I would, go do those duties on Sunday morning and then go back out Sunday afternoon to a unit that was close by. So
flexibility.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
And something I didn't know that you explained to me is when you enter the National Guard as a chaplain, you are an officer.
Correct.
Explain the difference that makes.
Well, I had a direct commission as a first lieutenant, and so it gives me not only the rank and the authority
that comes with that, I guess.
Right, correct.
And helps, I guess, with the flexibility.
Correct.
All right, let's talk about the non-deployed situation on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. Major Jeff Mitchell. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, pleased to have on the show today Major Jeff Mitchell. He's a chaplain in the National Guard, has been deployed to Afghanistan, is currently back. Jeff, thanks again for being on the show.
That's my pleasure.
Let's talk about the fact that when you were deployed to Afghanistan for over a year, it did affect your family, and there were a lot of issues that y'all had to deal with. You were going to be gone a year. It affected the church, your job. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, I think we had talked previously a little bit about my family.
How much notice did y'all have?
Well, initially it was about a month, but it ended up being about 3 months. So it gave me a lot of time to get a lot of things in order that needed to happen. But again, I think it stretched my family to say God is big, and it stretched our faith. And in that year or 14 months I was gone, they grew, and we appreciated each other more, and it helped me grow.
Makes the heart grow fond.
It sure does.
Let's talk about the effect on the church, because I think you expressed off just a minute ago that, guys are worried that the church isn't going to carry on without them, or the church isn't going to support them, or when they get back they're not going to have a job. Talk about that.
Well, being a chaplain from a spiritual perspective, there's a clear passage in Ephesians 4 that talks about the role of the pastor, that we're equipped to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. So knowing the possibility of deployment, it helped me get people better equipped in my absence. And when I was out of the pocket, a lot of the other pastors in our church stepped up, but I know a lot of local pastors don't have other pastors, but I tell you, and the guys that have deployed in those smaller churches, leadership and people that
God provides.
that they didn't think were ready to step up did, and any pastor that I've talked to said even their deployment was a very positive thing, not only for their own personal lives, but especially for their congregation.
Interesting. Let's talk about what it was like in Afghanistan. Living conditions, you're in a tent, it's dusty, might rain every once in a while. It's rugged living, but you came back with a smile on your face. Explain that.
Well, again, the training, the tough environment at Fort Polk. We went out to the National Training Center in the desert. It just prepares you for that mental toughness. It prepares you mentally, physically, spiritually. And I think the average soldier understands that and I realize it's going to be tough and sacrificial, but steps up to that. And I think the wonderful thing, most people think, come back and say, gosh, you don't have to be deployed again. I said, well, the experience of what it did in my own life, the family, the opportunity to serve those soldiers, and so many things that I got to experience. You finally get to step up in the things that you've been trained for years. You get the actual reality.
Well, clearly it is serving God and your fellow man and your country in a significant way. I know the issues on deployed status for the soldiers are much more intense and significant probably, with the bottom line is wounds, death, stress, anxiety, marital stress, all of that. How did you deal with it? How does the chaplain deal with those situations?
Well, and back to, I think, a positive thing as a pastor and coming into the chaplaincy, there's so many things that professionally the chaplaincy corps has prepared me and trained me in dealing with crisis.
So you knew in advance what you were going to have to deal with.
Correct. And so when those scenarios happen, that you can't plan for, but I was well trained to do that. And the soldiers are in those crisis situations dealing with not only what they're dealing with their fellow soldiers, but what might be going back at home. That's where, literally, I guess 5 hours a day, I was counseling soldiers on those issues.
One-on-one?
Correct. And helping them deal with what was happening in battle, but also situations they had no control over back at home, how to help them grow in their faith, how to counsel them through those things to where they could get back to focus on the mission at hand when we were, and anyone that's in a war zone, how to go on and deal with life and with both of those.
Jeff, I noticed that you have the cross on your uniform.
Correct.
And frankly, I was surprised to see that because it's a real clear indication then that you're a Christian. And I guess I was under the impression that if you're a chaplain, you almost kind of got to dumb down your doctrine or your faith or whatever, because you have folks of different faiths and different beliefs. But that's not the case, is it?
Correct.
Explain that.
Well, two key words in the chaplain corps are perform and provide. And, I have an endorsed agency that has endorsed me and in my beliefs, and I am free in the chaplaincy to perform according to my own beliefs, my own faith base, and not expected or demanded to minister outside of those convictions. But on the perform, or the provide side of the house is that I am committed to whatever the spiritual needs of a soldier is at a particular moment, whether it be non-deployed or deployed, to meet and get those resources, whether it be a rabbi or a Muslim minister or any materials to provide those spiritual needs for those. And those two sides of the house help meet the need and serve the soldier, but it gives me the freedom to minister within the convictions that I have.
And the word you use, freedom, I think is important, because bottom line is you have the freedom to minister to people who God puts in your path the way that God has motivated and taught you. If that's not the way they want to be ministered to, then you will find someone that meets, I guess, their criteria.
Correct.
That's very interesting. Explain, you said you have resources as a chaplain over there. Explain what chaplains need, maybe that the Army isn't giving, or that the Army is giving, but that they might need more of, if anything. I was reading emails, and chaplains were saying, send us more Psalms 22, or send us this. And I was wondering, how does that work?
Well, you know, when you're deployed there, the Army resources us, and you try to plan for what you need, but I know we get into that zone and need particular things, and it was much easier a lot of times to send an email back to a congregation or a group of people I even know, you and business people, that said, hey, you're sacrificing, you're out there on the front lines, what can I do to support you? And so many like yourself and businessmen and the people in the congregation said, hey, what can I do? And so we took a lot of those folks up, and that's where we could buy email or something, say, hey, we need this. It's very specific, and whether it be things of just meeting everyday physical needs or resources, and it was just amazing to watch folks step up and send things, and in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks you could have.
You got it. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show.
Our pleasure.
Look forward to having you back on to update us. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines, and we're going to, next segment, talk to the recruiter for chaplains. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm pleased to add to the show today Lieutenant James Collins. He is a recruiter for the Army National Guard. Again, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Let's kind of continue where we left off with Jeff Mitchell. You're a recruiter.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
This is my ministry. When the Lord called me to ministry as a chaplain, I was actually an enlisted recruiter. Had just been selected to make E8, and was really struggling with the call of the Lord in my life. I was a bivocational pastor, and had just been really struggling with what to do with my life and my career, and this opportunity came open for me to become a chaplain, so I took a pay cut and became a lieutenant. Here I am. I'm a lieutenant with 18 years in service, and when I tell people that, they look at me like, who did you make mad? But
that call was strong.
Yes, sir, it was. It was.
Well, tell the folks a little bit about yourself. I mean, how did you get into all this?
Well, I was in college and ran out of money. My first year of college, actually, and was struggling with how to pay for school. And I had remembered the National Guard recruiter beating us up in high school, and so I dug out that guy's card and gave him a call and used the benefits that we had to pay for my college, and then, of course, later on went into seminary and used those same benefits to pay for seminary.
And does the Army or the military pay for the seminary training?
Yes, absolutely. Depending on your denomination, where you want to go to seminary, we have tuition assistance, which will cover $4,500 a year in tuition. We also have GI Bill benefits. We have the student loan repayment, where you can take out $20,000 in student loans, and we'll pay back all of that $20,000 plus the interest. And then we have cash bonuses to help offset some of the costs and expenses of the seminary as well.
So the bottom line is the military will pay for the education necessary for a chaplain, I guess, to meet the criteria to become a chaplain.
Right. All of our chaplains have a professional degree, a Master's of Divinity or equivalent. And
so we're talking about 4 years of college plus
3 to 4 years of seminary.
And the military will pay for all of that?
Yes, they will. Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. The seminary also, there's a conception out there among the general public that a person already has to be finished with seminary to be an officer and to be a chaplain. That's not necessarily the case. We can take people and bring them in while they're in seminary, pay for their seminary, make them a chaplain candidate. They can serve as a lieutenant and be a chaplain in training. Basically, they'll shadow a chaplain on their drill weekends and learn what the chaplain ministry is all about.
Let's talk about, I guess, what the requirements are to become a chaplain.
You have to be able to pass a physical exam, be healthy enough to pass a physical entrance exam. You have to be able to be in a seminary of some kind.
Be accepted, I guess?
Be accepted into a seminary, or be a seminary graduate, that's right. You have to be endorsed by an ecclesiastical endorsing agency.
I guess a church?
A lot of times it can be a church or a church group. I'm a Southern Baptist chaplain, and in that capacity I'm endorsed by the North American Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Convention. A denomination of some type will have to endorse you and say that you meet the requirements to be a chaplain.
For their denomination.
Right. Yes,
How old do you have to be?
If you've never been in the military service before, don't have any service at all, we usually start losing people around 40, 41, 42 without a waiver. And the reason for that is you can do 20 years in the National Guard and get a retirement, but the mandatory retirement age is around 60. So they want everybody to have that opportunity. That's why we have that age cutoff. However, if you have some prior military service, we can take someone and commission them up to around age 50, 1 year for every year over age 40 of service. So if a person was 43 and they had 3 years of prior military service, for example, then they would be all right.
To serve till
they're 60, right,
okay.
and come on. Yeah.
All right, so older folks, so if you've been in the military in any capacity before and you decide you want to become a chaplain and you're over 40, you can probably do it.
Sure, right.
If, however, you have no prior military service and you're over 40 and you want to become a chaplain, probably isn't going to happen.
Probably is not going to happen.
Okay, very interesting. Explain what else, as a chaplain, the benefits that are received when they join.
Well, of course, all chaplains are officers, so there's a decent paycheck, not bad. All chaplains are eligible.
I mean, what are the paychecks? I'm sure that's a concern for some folks.
Sure. Starting out as a lieutenant, you'll probably make $450 for that 1 weekend a month's work, somewhere around in there. Not bad, but it's a supplement to your income. Also, there are the bonuses, the educational benefits that I was talking about earlier. But one of the long-term benefits that people don't always think about at a young age, but they need to start thinking about, I believe, is the retirement benefits. You can do 20 years in the National Guard, and you can qualify for full medical for you and your spouse, and that's a big deal these days. Big, huge benefit right there. A lot of our chaplains are bivocational pastors in small churches, small towns, and when you look at that, the salary benefits that they get for being that pastor don't always include the health insurance, and they're paying for that on their own. When somebody turns 60, the premiums generally go through the roof. Now,
do you have health insurance and life insurance benefits when you're in the reserves?
In training capacities, you do. You do have full life insurance benefits all the time. It'd be great if I could offer full medical. We don't quite have it that worked out, but there are some dental and some benefits that there are available, yes.
And so you do get the insurance.
But you get that locked.
As a retirement benefit.
As a retirement benefit.
How long do you have to be in?
At least 20 years total service. Now, if somebody has some prior service, say they have 5 years prior service, they can do 15 years with us and
put it together.
And put it together, right.
All right. What other benefits does a chaplain get when they go in a deployed status? Does it change?
Sure. They're getting paid full-time pay based on their rank, full-time benefits. Anybody that's deployed are receiving the full-time pay, full-time benefits.
And if do the full-time benefits, which I assume includes health insurance and life insurance and
extend over to the family and everything. Yes,
it covers the entire family.
In a deployed status.
Now, when they are no longer deployed, do they lose the benefits?
Not necessarily. Some they do. They can't keep the full medical in a non-deployed status. But again, it all builds toward that retirement.
All right. Explain to the folks how it's impacted your ministry.
As a bivocational pastor, one ministry...
What does that mean, bivocational?
Part-time, I'm sorry. Yes, as a part-time pastor. One ministry has enhanced the other. I look at the National Guard as a mission field in our backyard. a mission field of 300,000 soldiers. And one ministry has helped the other in a sense that I have National Guard soldiers who are attending my church, and my church is also ministering to National Guard soldiers who are in the field.
So they're fitting hand in hand.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Appreciate it. God bless you,
all of y'all. This is Locke Meredith Legal Lines. Thank you for being with us today.